Hi there adventurers, my name is Derek and this is Alventaro Adventures. Today I want to speak about random tables. You know, the ones you see in adventures and TTRPG supplements when they give you a list of random encounters or random items. It could also be randomized treasure. For character creation, there's also tables with random names or tables you can use to combine a random name with a random last name. There's some games where you can randomize everything. You randomize your stats and then your race and then your class and then even some core abilities or skills that you can earn. They're also randomized. Some games give you that many options. And as usual, we do it with dice. It could be a d6 table. You just roll 1d6. There's 6 options. It could be 1d10 or 1d20. For tables that have a lot of options, maybe they give you a d100 with 100 options for names or random treasure or whatever. A good example for one of those large tables is the ones you find in the Dungeon Master's Guide for Randomized Treasure for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. There are several such tables with 100 possible results. Another famous example is the D100 table in Dungeon Crawl Classics, where you generate your random level 0 peasant. And so it's usually like that. You roll some dice, you compare it with a table, you get your result. And usually it's just that. However, in some tables, you usually get a very small bell curve. For example, the reaction table in many OSR games, you roll 2d6, add the results, and then compare it with a table. When you add the results of 2 dice, you get a bell curve. So some results are more likely to happen than others. A very easy way to see it is how when you roll 2d6, if you want to get a 12, you need to roll 2 6s, and that's actually one of the most unlikely results. But on the other hand, if you roll 1d20, each of all of the results have a 5% chance of happening, so it's a small difference. I think it's worth it depending on what you want to do, but it's pretty much the same. But today, I want to talk about some way to resolve randomized results that I have never seen before. I love reading indie products, especially when they are in the OSR side of Dungeons & Dragons things. And one very interesting game I recently read was Trophy Gold and Trophy Dark. The game itself is a fantasy medieval exploration, but not of dungeons, but of forests. The forest is a dungeon. Pretty interesting, I really recommend it, but this video is not about the game itself, but about the random tables that I saw in that game. And I have to show you, most of these tables are just with 2d6s. However, the way they have implemented this in the book, it blew my mind. I had never seen it before. However, if you know of this technique being used in different games, I would love to see those books. So let me show you. Alrighty, this is Trophy Gold by Jesse Ross. I purchased this on DriveThruRPG, and there's also an affiliate link right here in the description if you want to help out. Okay, so let's scroll down. This book is about exploring forests and all, but very soon you get hit with very interesting things. This is the character sheet. I thought it's amazing. Then you get the randomized stuff I mentioned before. Okay, here it is. Right after the character sheet, you get some randomized stuff for your character. This is just a character generation randomizer with random names. When I first saw this page, I was like, what am I looking at? What is this? But if you pay attention, this is how it works. You roll 2d6, but they have to be different colors. One black, one white. Could be any color. Or you could just roll one die, but one first and then one, and then you roll it again. So here, if the first die is 1 and then the second one is a 1, you get this random name Akale. But if the first one is a 1 in the black die and then you get a 5, you get this result, Bena. So you get this very strange table where you roll 2d6s, but if you 6 times 6 is 36, so this is a d36 table. So by rolling 2 dice, you get 36 different options. This is something I had never seen before. If you have seen it in a different game that came out before Trophy, please tell me, because this blew my mind. Okay, they don't stop there, like the way they configure the dice. Let me show you. After this, you get the occupations table, because you can be a bodyguard, an orc, sellsword, a smuggler, a ranger, or a lockpick. And here is some others: antiquarian, hedge, leech, magician, oracle, and sorcerer. This is lingo for the Trophy Gold game. But here you roll first the black die, and if you get 1, 2, or 3, the first section applies. or if you roll 4, 5, and 6, then the second section applies. And then you roll the white die and then you choose whichever result you got. So this gets you a d12 table. So this gets a little strange because when you roll 2d6 and add the results, you can never get 1 because you can get a 1 and a 1, and when you add it, it makes a 2, and you can get up to 12. So when you roll 2d6s, you're actually rolling for 11 possible results. It's like a d11 table. But here, when you configure it like this with 2 sections of 6s, you get a d12. This is a very complex way of just rolling 1d12, but I think I will allow it. I thought it was pretty good to see, but they don't stop there. If we go to the end of the page where you roll your random background, then you get this. First, you roll the black die, like the others. If you get a 1 or a 2, you get this first section. If you roll a 3 or a 4, you get the second middle section. And for a 5 and 6, you roll on the third section. Then you roll the white die and you choose your result. So for example, if you roll a 4 in the black die, you get the middle section. And then if you roll a 3, you get this, the hapless peddler. If you roll a 6 on your black die, it's the third section. And then let's say you roll a 2 on the white die, you get this, a reformed thug. So with this, you roll the same 2d6s, but now you have 18 possible results. So that's a d18 table. So what we got here is 3 different ways to interpret the results of rolling 2d6 to get either 12 possible results, 18, or 36. If we go to the next page, they also have this section for drives. This is also a d36 table. You roll 2d6, 36 results. I thought that was impressive. And the layout they have here, the page design with the black and white dice on the page, very descriptive. It's very intuitive, and I had never seen it before. There's also here a table for random backpack equipment, again with the 18 possible results. 1 and 2 for the first section, 3 and 4 on the black die for the second section, and then 5 and 6 for the third section. Have you seen this before? Because this was my first, and it's crazy that no one has taken this, like just lifted it from this book and steal it. Or have I not seen it? In this page, they describe rituals, which is the equivalent for this game's spells. This is also a d18 table. There's 18 possible results. And if you make a spellcasting character, you can pick 1, 2, or the 3 spells from the result that you get. I mean, you can pick 1 or more, but the more you take, the worse it is for you, because magic is very dangerous. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you about Trophy Gold is how they do the stat blocks, because they also have a random thing in the stat block, which is something I also have not seen before. This is not the same as tables, it's just another way to do randomized result. This is the black pudding, the classic D&D monster. I think we can ignore the art. This is not meant to represent the black pudding. So here's what we have. First, this is like the difficulty in this game. Black pudding / a dark amorphous blob dragging its mass across the cave floor with the force of an ocean wave. Amazing, descriptive. But then they have this D6 table of some extra descriptors for these particular monsters. For example, here if you roll a 4, you get squeezing through cracks. For a 6, it says splitting into 2 puddings. The 1 says quivering with anticipation. This is just flavor, okay? I don't think this is meant to be interpreted as something mechanical in the game, but it's also something that's very original. I have not seen this before. Have you seen something like this in a game where you get a stat block? Like we are used to stat blocks. It's just a block of text with rules and attacks and stats and things you need to run the game. It's usually not used for description or world building. Sometimes in some games there's like a little read aloud box in italics that gives you a description like this one, like this description on top. A dark amorphous blob dragging its mass across the cave floor. It's just flavor text for the GM, but they don't give you something random that could happen in your game but be different in the next one. It's just a droplet of flavor in some place where we usually don't find it, the stat block. I thought it was pretty good, but now back to the random tables. Alright, so last month I had just read the Trophy Gold book I showed you, and I was thinking, how can I make use of this for the stuff I do? We have a section of Dungeon Vault magazine that has random tables, so I decided to do this. We have here a carousing table that has 36 options in the same style I saw in Trophy Gold. So let me make this smaller. You can see how it is 6 blocks of 6 options, again with the same mechanic with a black and a white die. So it's all the same. So for example, if you roll a 5 with the black die and then a 3, you would get this. You gain an enemy. And then here you would roll an additional d6, or maybe an assassin, a dwarfsmith, or a powerful duke. If instead you rolled a 6 in the black die, you would get this block, and then you roll, let's say, a 2. You wake up with severe pain. You realize half your left ear is gone, chopped off. So that's what we did last month. But I didn't stop there, because this month we just published a few days ago this one, Finders Keepers, a D36 table with random, useless but flavorful stuff that you can find in a dungeon. So let's say you roll a 1 in the black die, so you would get this first section down here, and then you roll a 4. A small brass bell. When rung, it produces a surprisingly clear, pleasant tone. If instead you were to roll a 4 in the black die, you would go down here and then you roll, let's say, a 6. So you get the very last result, a set of frayed rope, neatly coiled and surprisingly strong despite its age. One last example, let's say you roll a 6 in the black die and then a 3. An ornate small goblet crafted from silver and decorated with vines. It's worth 35 gold pieces. So I hadn't seen this in other games. I decided to copy it. I have still to reuse the other 2 modes with 12 and 18 results. I thought those were pretty good, especially the one with 18 results, because the one with 12, like I said, is just like a complex way to roll 1d12, but there's no other way to get 18 or 36 results, so I thought that was cool. I do the layout design for Dungeon Bolt magazine, so whenever I see stuff like this with interesting tables and interesting ways to do the layout on the page, I'm always paying attention. So if you see something like this that's like pretty to the eye but also mechanically interesting, I would love to see it. These 2 products I just showcased, the Finders Keepers and the carousing table, are available on our Patreon page. I'm adding some links down here in the description, but also, I mean, if I'm talking about it, you should check out our Patreon page, but if not, or if subscription services are not your cup of tea, you can also subscribe to this channel if you like TTRPG content like this, where we talk about the game and the layouts and making stuff and reviewing books and stuff like that. I love this subject and I want to share it with you. Well, I think that's it for this one. My name is Derek and this is Elven Tower Adventures.